After casually destroying San Francisco, Godzilla is finally back after taking a much-needed vacation in northern Africa. In this latest episode, we'll be taking a look at Godzilla's return, where he might be headed, Lee and Keiko's relationship, and what present-day Lee might be cooking up. Before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe if you want more Godzilla videos. As we travel back to 1955, it's been 1 year since Godzilla was blown away in the South Pacific and never seen from again. We're here at Monarch headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, considerably less busy than present day, probably because the only 3 people working there are Lee, Bill, and Keiko. Strange isotopic readings have been found in Japan, readings that are very similar to what was found in the Philippines near the USS Lawton. These readings come from Hataruma, Japan's southernmost inhabited island. This is where we meet Dr. Suzuki, considered a bit of a crackpot by the locals, who has built what he calls a gamma radiation simulator. We know that Titans are attracted to radiation, so theoretically turning this machine on will act as a sort of Titan bait. Back in 2015, we'll see that Hiroshi has taken Dr. Suzuki's idea and crafted his own simulator. We saw what looked like a photo of one of these devices at his office in San Francisco. Now that we know Hiroshi is alive and well, the question then becomes, why would he want to awaken Godzilla, especially after the disaster that was G-Day? When Verdugo and Tim visit Hiroshi's office, we learn that Hiroshi was fired for misuse of government assets. He'd been turning satellites to point at Earth and found specific locations that gave off highly irregular readings. These locations seem to point to Titans, such as the Frostvark found in Alaska. Maybe Hiroshi is using this simulator to awaken Godzilla so that he can help save humanity from these other Titans. Other than North Africa, Tim notes that Hiroshi picked up 2 more gamma-ray surges, one in Central Asia and the other around Vietnam and Cambodia. This is likely where he's headed next. But there's also the question of why Hiroshi went MIA from his kids and why he leaves them in the Algerian desert. I think Hiroshi wanted to disappear for 2 main reasons. One, his mission is all about saving humanity and preventing what Lee calls a G-Day times 1,000. And knowing how stubborn his kids are, if they found out what he was doing, they'd go after him, putting themselves in danger. So in a way, him going completely off the grid is his way of protecting them. In North Africa, him leaving could be his attempt at leading Godzilla away from them. Remember, he has this huge device on the back of his truck. This is why we don't see him attempt to link up with them after Godzilla's emergence. We've been theorizing for over 5 episodes now, but we finally get confirmation of Lee and Keiko's relationship. At the summer ball of 1955, it looks like it's fully underway. Keep in mind, this is 3 years after they first met in the Philippines, 1 year after the atomic blast at Bikini Atoll, and 4 years before Keiko falls into the rubble of the Kazakhstan reactor. In Kazakhstan, we learn that Keiko and Bill Randa are married. You can see they both have wedding rings, which is something they do not have in 1955. So something happens between these 4 years to shake up the dynamics between these 3. And if this episode is any indication, it looks like the reason Lee and Keiko don't work out is Monarch itself. Lee thinks he's doing the right thing by missing an important meeting with General Puckett, but instead flies out to Japan to be with Keiko. While this may seem like a romantic gesture, it ends up jeopardizing the entire project when they come back to see Puckett has put somebody totally new in charge. Additionally, Bill doesn't seem to know about this little tryst, leading me to believe he won't for the next 4 years either, since in 1959 it seems like the 3 of them are all still good friends. There's a running line both Lee and Keiko say this episode,
"The things I do for Monarch,"
which I think is a play on
"the things I do for love."
One of the big reveals this episode is Michelle Duvall's turn from Monarch, helping Lee escape captivity in Alaska. This decision was based on what happened to her sister Sandra in Janjira, the nuclear facility attacked in 2014's Godzilla. It's never stated whether or not this is Sandra Brody, the nuclear physicist who died in the attack and was married to Bryan Cranston's Joe Brody. Coincidentally or not, she is portrayed by a French actress, Juliette Binoche. Duvall doesn't want what happened to her sister to happen to others, so she sees Lee as the only guy with a plan to make it stop, hence helping him escape. 2 characters who haven't been as forthcoming are Lee Shaw and May. Lee knows way more than he's putting on and uses this to keep Kentaro and Kate on a leash.
If you come with me, You'll know everything, I promise you.
It's also revealed that Lee wants to protect Godzilla, something May calls him crazy for. This is likely why Lee split ways with Monarch. He sees Godzilla as a protector, while Monarch sees Godzilla as a monster that needs to be destroyed. With Monarch being taken over by the General's men at the end of the episode, this could be the start of Lee's divergence from Monarch as a whole. May also comes clean about selling out Ken and Kate. She was the one to inform Duvall where they were. But we also get a bit more information about her past. She states that a few years ago she pissed off some people and ran away to Japan. This might have something to do with a large sum of money she amassed. Money which she says she hasn't touched. With a gang stranded with no passports or place to go, they'll probably have to dip into this cash. May said she didn't touch this money because it could alert the people she stole it from, so you better believe if they take any of this money, someone will be on their tracks. Now we get into the trailer sleuthing part of this video where we take a look at the season's trailers to see if we can glean any information on what's to come. I won't cover every shot, just the ones I think are important. Check out this shot of a man and woman's hands. Could this be Lee and Keiko? Of particular note are what appear to be bandages on the left hand, so I'll be keeping an eye out for anyone who has an injury there in upcoming episodes. This is the shot that intrigues me the most. Lee on some sort of mission. We'll see him and others get into this giant ball. Remember that Verdugo said Lee was involved in a mission gone wrong. My guess is that this was a mission to prove that the Hollow Earth exists, a world within our world seen in Godzilla vs. Kong. This mission may also explain why Lee looks so good for being in his 90s. I don't know if they could make this work, but imagine if Keiko was still alive. The last time we saw her, she fell into this giant crevice. And if time were to somehow work differently in the Hollow Earth, it's possible she could look the exact same even in 2015. Remember that Dr. Suzuki's findings hinted that everything they know about physics could be wrong.
If the data is accurate,
And it is. Then it means physics are
wrong.
A similar large sphere can be seen in 2015 behind our characters here, so expect us learning more about what went wrong in this mission in episodes to come. This is a really interesting shot of Lee in front of a computer that says Prime. I wonder if he's setting off some sort of bomb or the Gamma simulator. Judging by the fan in the background, he's talking to Kate and she looks a little concerned. Now, if I were writing this show, I think the coolest twist would be if Lee has some sort of secret plan to get Keiko back, even if it means going against the greater good. We've already seen him make this choice when he opted not to go and secure that Monarch funding and rather travel to Japan to be with her. There's this shot of Lee and two other unknown characters at what appears to be a Monarch facility, judging by the Monarch logo barely visible on the computer screen. And it looks like Tim survived his encounter with Godzilla after a blade from the chopper he was in crashed into it. At some point he'll be taking Kate, Kentaro, and May to the Monarch headquarters in Virginia. But just how all of these weave together in the next 4 episodes remains to be seen, and I hope you'll stick with me as the show nears its climax. Now I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts and theories on what will happen next? Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.